Right, so the story of personalization is the title of our session. So like most lazy journalists, I turned to the internet to get a definition. Personalization in the analog world existed when the guy at the video store, or Blockbusters, remember them, yeah, knew your name. That was about as personalized as it got. In the digital age, and you've been referencing this in various ways, personalization is a powerful tool where a company knows what you want to buy before you've even thought about it, which I think is pretty relevant to everybody in this room today and what we're going to talk about over the next 35, 40 minutes or so. So here's our panel. Charlie, first of all, just very broadly, what would you say personalization and customer intent means to you?
So actually, this morning, a great example of personalization for me, my sort of go-to starting point. I arrived at the hotel. I think you were all having breakfast. I was a little bit late, as Kevin suggested. And the guy at the front noticed that I was hunting around, and I was not carrying a suitcase. I did not look like someone who was about to check in. I looked like someone here for a conference. And he came over and said, "Are you looking for an event?" And that's it. Perfect personalization delivered here in a hotel this morning. He didn't, he greeted me having made some assumptions about what I was wanting and what I needed. And as a result, was able to cut to the chase and help me find my way down here quicker. And so I think we do personalization in this industry really well, every day, all the time, in a face-to-face way. And I kind of always come back to that kind of example of the lobby, because it takes the sort of excitement out of the word of personalization. And ultimately, for me, it's about identifying that different people are likely to have different needs, and you should therefore treat them in different ways. And we do it all day, every day in hotels.
Okay, Antonio, for you, please.
Yeah, perfect. I think everyone, like you saw on Nancy's presentation, people are starting to get more and more connected. So it's not only personalization, but hyper-personalization. It's how we leverage our customers. If you talk about B2C, you think like DC is a consumer, simply like I'm a buyer. I'm not necessarily a buyer. It can be B2I, to individual, B to human. That's the type of interaction that we'll be moving forward. So it's the means to meet customer needs effectively, efficiently, consistently when they need that type of engagement with your brand. So if you look at the whole journey for hospitality or any other industry, actually, if you look from pre-trip, during the trip, and post-trip or pre-stay, whatever you're gonna call, during the stay or post-stay, that's a new battlefield that is happening in the industry. That organizations try to own that battlefield, end-to-end journey of the customer. But if you only be interested with the customer when they step into a hotel, that's maybe too late. So when they started thinking about this journey, you need to be in front of them. You need to be in those inspiration phase to make the proper recommendation, personalized offer in front of them so you can convert or bring back that unknown person to known to connected customer and make that business. And keep during the stay engage with the customer. Understand what they do in your property. So you need to have a closer relationship with them. And also when they leave, you need to continue that collaboration. Just only keeping that in mind and balance well, what's the difference between being creepy or a butler? So you don't want to be, on the other side of the fence, but you want to serve your customer well. You want to bring hyper-personalization into your mind. So this is about mindset. It's not about just, I'm going to be in this place, I'm going to serve a room, hotel room. It's an experience. And you see today, some hotels, they are coming up with some places that Instagrammable. So those millennials they like to, interact, be social, to be vocal about the experience in your property. So understand what they want, their needs, and what they need, and be there to support them personally at scale.
Thank you. Gary, if you can give us a definition of what it means to you that might be different from the two that we've had, or...
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, personalization, at its core, it's down to interpretation. You know, everyone has their own thoughts about it. Everyone has their own expectations about personalization. And when I think about it, more often than not, you know, we want to be subject to some sort of personalized touch point every minute of the day, you know, when we're not sleeping. But generally speaking, for me, it's a couple of things. You know, it's ensuring that when I'm in personalization mode, what I'm looking for is of meaning, it makes sense, and I need it quickly. And when I do that, I also want that to be and to take place in a frictionless environment. You know, so whenever I'm ready to go, you know, it's about having that personalized service and the expectation of a personalized service or product or offer, but made available in a frictionless way. And that is the most important piece, it has to be frictionless.
Okay, thank you. Nancy.
Yes.
Towards the end, I really liked this. You said, unlearning old patterns. Mm-hmm. This sector, with respect, is full of old patterns, mm-hmm. whether it's technology, whether it's processes, whether it's distribution, channel management, revenue management. The leap from that to some of the things that you've been talking about needs a lot of unlearning. I mean, how do people start to unlearn those old patterns?
I think unlearning as an active verb is quite tough. And I think it's about being open to new experiences and maybe get in touch with the people that are actually experiencing with you. And that is, you know, we do surveys all the time, and you know, on a 0 to 10 scale, how likely is it that you're going to recommend us? Well, you know, if you say a 9, are you really going to recommend us after all? It's, you know, you ask them how likely it is, but you don't ask them if they are, or you don't check if they are really recommending you. Instead of these surveys, I think it would be wise to get, and it's not just about millennials, it's about all kinds of maybe new people, you know, doing a lot of travel. Like, for example, the Chinese are, it's a massive new customer group out there. Really getting in touch with these people and really trying to find out what they are looking for and experimenting with this. This will help you get rid of some of these old patterns. And I think that's the most important, not just sitting behind your desk and doing surveys, but really getting out there and talk to people and try new experiences. I think experimenting with a lot of new stuff is essential for the business to take it one step further.
Can I jump in on that? Yeah, unlearning patterns. I think the easiest way, particularly, and in personalization, obviously, we're going to come on to more sort of on the web and hotel web experiences. But the easiest way that we find to bring it alive to people who are hoteliers is you know, we recommend get your website live on a laptop, go into Starbucks, and just ask 3 people to book your hotel. Give them a credit card, and just get them to talk to you while they go through the process. It's such a simple thing. You can literally go and do it tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Go to Starbucks, offer someone a coffee, and ask them to book your hotel. And if you pick people from different generations, I mean, you know, pick a teenager, pick someone maybe who's Chinese, if there happens to be someone in Starbucks, pick someone in their 70s, and get them to use your website and just go through it and listen to what they do and watch what they do. That's just such an immediate way to unlearn because you know we're of a generation that grew up using computers a lot. And we're very au fait to it, but maybe your customers aren't. And so just make sure you actually get people to book your website in front of you and just sit and watch and listen, and you'll be amazed how much you'll realize, oh, well, these people couldn't see the text. They didn't know where to click next because the color didn't show up well enough. Just like really little basic things that are making sure you're targeting different segments and listening to what different segments need. That's a good way to unlearn is, yeah, as you say, get in front of real people.
How successful has that been when you've done it?
Oh, for us? Oh, it's great. We do it with every product update we're going to do. Every time we're thinking of doing something, we send our designers out. They go out with, usually actually, they take an iPad to Starbucks and go and get people to do it. Sometimes they'll recruit people in for formal interviews for a day, but often they'll just go out and do it. We just always do it. I mean, it's essential because when you're deep in something like your own website, you completely forget what it's like the first time someone sees it. And it just helps you, as you say, yeah, open up new perspectives.
It'd be great if you knew what coffee they wanted. That would be true personalization, of course. So, Gary, let's move on a little bit. I mean, There are different points in the purchase funnel. So there's the inspiration phase, there's the shopping phase, there's the buying phase, and there's the phase that often doesn't get mentioned, which is the actual inexperience phase. When do you think is the, where does it work best, personalization? Don't say all of them. There must be one that probably has the better chance for you to say drive sales, for example.
Oh, no, not all of them. You're right. So again, from the way in which we look at it, is there any airlines in the room, by the way? Just a quick question. Cool, good. All right. So the case in point, I think we all know, and we've all been talking and focusing on booking flows and all that kind of cool stuff over the years. And I think it boils down to this, is that the realization is that the offers that you create and ultimately being in control of those offers and where they're distributed, again, in a frictionless environment, is really the base point. That's where you start. We've been talking about this specifically to the airline customers for 30 years. But today, the answer of the question is really around speed and intent. When there's the intent to buy, that revenue opportunity is right up there at the beginning. So whether it's an inspirational offer that's being put out there, whether it's a specific day search, this applies to everyone in this room and outside. If you are eloquently revenue managing that offer, that sales revenue is realized at the get-go. To your point, people do not wait anymore. Just look at ourselves. We don't wait. Now, if you want to start then increasing that revenue or that earning per person, not per bed or per seat, then of course you can start looking at offers around additional ancillaries. So again, for the airline space, they're not just necessarily selling seats anymore. They are, without fail, debundling and a la carting to quite a high degree. But it's at the beginning where that revenue opportunity lies. Get that offer right, and that's where it all begins.
Antonio?
Sure. Serving the customer is not about this person is going to come in, I'm going to get some points, or I'm going to engage, I'm going to get to know them. But we still see a lot in hospitality. I walk into the hotel and they ask a simple question: have you stayed with us before? And then I've been there so many times. And how can that will help in bring more personalized experience to me? Seems like they're not getting it. So those points that Gary was mentioned, like when the inspiration phase, when we trying to inspire them, to attract them, to convert them, those are good points to get them. But also when you are at the property, they need to know who you are. They need to know to continue have that experience with you. The other things that I think is going to happen more in this industry, is to know who is the truly profitable customers out there. They may not be relevant to your property, to your brand, but they may be a VIP customer elsewhere. So we bring in capabilities to understand who is that traveler, who is that guest out there, not necessarily with you, and to bring them in. That's going to be, I think, valuable going forward.
Are you saying, therefore, that there should be levels of personalization based on how much their ability to spend, then? Or?
100%.
Yeah.
We do that already, right, in hotels. You have a director of sales and marketing who has personal accounts, corporate accounts, and a relationship, because they know I've got a relationship with this organization or this person, because they're going to bring me loads of business. You have to do that. Everyone's always, number one, higher value customers are worth spending more time with.
Okay, but that can be quite hard in the leisure industry because of customer lifetime value. So business travel, fine, because you have loyalty schemes and people travel regularly. But in leisure, that's hard because it's considered by maybe once a year. So how do you tackle it there?
I don't necessarily agree. I don't think it's like the one who gives you the most profit you should be personalizing the most as well. I think if you look at word of mouth and how that travels, I think you should aim at hyper personalization with any single customer.
Yeah.
And if you look at the experience as a whole, so I talked about Daniel Kahneman, he talks about the Pecan Rule in his book. And so any customer experience, what he will remember from it, and that's the most important part, is what the customer remembers from it. So you have to be able to create some kind of memory. The peak and the end of every single experience are the ones that are being remembered. Now, if I go to a hotel, almost any hotel, I don't know, I'm not going to talk about the peak, whether that be positive or negative, but the end is always going to the reception desk and pay and stand in line first to be able to pay, getting annoyed, and that is the experience that I take with me. So I think in any experience that you're building out there for your customers, remember this peak end rule.
But sorry,
Yeah.
I still think though, I know it myself, when I go to an SPG hotel, I get in the queue, which is SPG members,
Yeah.
which means I get better service checking in, checking out. And they do that for me because I'm a repeat visitor and I'm worth more money to them. So I do believe that it's worth understanding the value of different guests, and if delivering better service or better personalization to high-value customers means you're more likely to get more high-value customers, then you'd be mad not to do that.
I agree.
So, because I think that to your point of lifetime value, I think that's really interesting. And personally, I think this is something that's going to happen to the revenue industry in about 3 years. I think it's going to take a while to get there. But so, for example, one of the things that we do is help hotels decide how much they should bid for a guest on meta search. So we will look at data and we'll say, well, we know that to this hotel in Mauritius, if the guest is from the UK, they're worth £1,000. If the guest is from Germany, they're worth £2,000, because the Germans are more likely, just in general, German guests will spend more at the resort. They'll stay and have dinner at the restaurant, whatever it happens to be. So we will bid more for those guests because they're worth more to the hotel. But what we're not yet taking into account, and I just don't think the hotel industry is ready for because of the data silos, is what we really want to do, which is understand not just that, oh, the German's worth more on this visit, and that's the decision we're making, but that actually, it turns out, the British people are 3 times more likely to repeat visits at the hotel. So in fact, the Brit is actually worth more in the long run, they're just not worth more on this occasion. And I just don't think the industry is anywhere close to being able to, make investments on bidding, for example, for guests based on lifetime value, not just immediate value. I think the OTAs are doing it. You see it every day with the OTAs, but hotels are a long way from it. But we'll get there.
Would you agree, Gary?
Yeah, both actually. There's an element that we talk about, that I think is becoming a conversation more and more every day, with our customer base and potential customer base. And it all really boils around, this element of offer optimization where we're marrying sort of, good old-fashioned revenue management and e-commerce together, and and going through these steps. On the customer side, everyone's at different points at their journey. The reason I say that is there's one fundamental, and that is an element of what the customer is willing to pay. So from an RM perspective, having dynamic pricing and willingness to pay, gives an element of chance to maximize a single sale or lifetime of a customer. Because what CEOs tell me is that, I'm sick and tired of putting offers out there and driving down to the lowest value every single time. What I'm actually looking for within my organization is that piece in between. And it's that piece in between that gets that higher value, rather than always driving down to the cheapest price. They hate it. So the answer is that if you get that right, then you'll have not only repeat customers with offers that they like and they want to consume in a frictionless way, but more importantly, that you're maximizing those revenues by not always driving down to the lowest. So in a one-time offer or a one-time situation, by maximizing that willingness to pay, will give you the revenue increase that you're looking for.
Let's shift a little bit. Now, in some of the research that I was doing, learning about, the network effect and things like this. This is where you had the guts to talk about Booking.com, so I feel fine about talking about Booking.com. Sorry, everyone, for the next 5 minutes. Right, so is there an argument that OTAs, such as Booking.com and Expedia, because they are marketplaces, have a better chance of capitalizing on all of this? Because the network effect, by definition, is when you've got volumes of data, volumes of users, and often you're collecting from both sides, from suppliers and from buyers. So therefore, will it be the OTAs that will have the most chance of winning in this kind of personalization battle because they've got those advantages? And as you spoke about Booking.com before, we'll come to you first, Nancy.
Yeah, so I think they have the huge advantage of these masses of data. And still, I think it's tough if you want to do what I would call precision marketing. And when I was in China, I saw that happening much more thoroughly. So there's the big platforms out there like Alibaba and Tencent, and so Tencent is on the WeChat platform. Whenever you have companies on this same platform, what they can actually do is combine the data of the humans as travelers on the one hand, but as a person on the other as well. So what they can really do is if I'm looking for a vacation to book something, they also have data on me on which videos I watch, what sites I consult, what restaurants I go to, because I do this all on the same app. So in China, this precision marketing is already to a next level. Here in Europe and in the US, I think we are lagging a bit because these are on different platforms. So we have the traveling piece on one platform and we've got the social piece on another. So we're not really able to do this precision marketing. That being said, however, I think what these OTAs have is huge amounts of data that they can use to personalize. On the other hand, to be very honest as well, I sometimes get frustrated and I hate and annoyed by Booking.com because whenever I look for one place at one time, I get all these mails for the next 7 weeks about this location that I've just been to. So, it's personalization doing the wrong way. So, yeah.
You should book direct. That would be my recommendation.
But the poor Charlie's blood pressure just goes up with the mention.
But okay, so you're completely right. The OTAs have not only far more data with which to do personalization, but actually another really key part of it is they have the ability to offer multiple different things to different people. If you're a hotel with 50 rooms in a certain part of London, there may only be 1 or 2 key reasons why people book your hotel. And there may only be 1 or 2 key bits of information they want to know. What does the room look like? And what is the price? So the idea of giving everybody a different path or different information is like complete waste of time. Whereas in Booking, obviously, they could show you 400 different hotels. So they have to choose which one. So their ability to utilize the data in a valuable way for them is also greater. But actually, the company that really could nail it is Google. In Q4, they brought out a change to Google Hotel Ads. And one of the bits I've not seen anyone write about, Kevin, which amazes me, is it says there's a little bit in Google Hotel Ads, which if you're a Gmail user and you're logged in, it says, we may have used some of the data in your emails to decide which hotels to show you. I mean, that's extraordinary. Yeah. What flight you took, whether you booked, what class you booked, what you paid for that room. They can use all of that to decide how desperate are you to book right now, to decide which hotels they should show you on Google Maps, for example, and what prices you might likely book at. So definitely the OTAs are ahead. They have an opportunity hotels don't, and Google even more so.
So a couple of cents here. Personalization has to be there, but I see still like some hotels are still struggling with some basic things, like how their CRS system communicates with the PMS. You still have some broken links there. Sometimes you walk into the hotel, I don't see a reservation. Okay. So they have to do their homework. So that's one thing. Other things that is, I'm sure you guys face some problems here and there, sometimes, not all the time. They're going back to that customer journey from end to end. Is a fragmented experience for all of us. The whole experience when they started booking something, thinking about booking something, involves so many players, right? It's like you have your website, your hotel OTAs or not OTAs, ground transportation, airlines, all these players. My experience is segmented. Would be nicer if all this information be together. If we could collect this information together, I know exactly what is going on with my guest. It's a completely hyper-personalization about, or extremely hyper-personalization about the guest. I know exactly what they are and in that journey. Hospitality industry could have these 4 S's out there. Sell earlier, sell with relevance, sell direct, and sell more. The more they know the customer, you need to look at these 4 S's. Sell earlier, during the inspiration phase, how can I present something that is personalized to me, that resonates well with me, so I can actually buy from you and then jump into a direct booking. Since I have, you have all the information, all personalized information, you'll be relevant to me, and that's something that resonates well. I can go, and I probably am gonna spend even more with your property. I can buy, you know me, you can offer the right things that resonates with me. Is spa, not like golf. I may not be a golfer, but I like to go and spend time in a spa, things like that, because you know me, so I spend more. So these 4 S's, I think, is fundamental to leverage based on a hyper-personalization or extreme personalization you have about me.
Gary, no conversation about extreme personalization or hyper-personalization. It has to come under the framework of how do you kind of reassure your customers, one, that you're just not being creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, given the Google example, which outrageously we haven't written about because we didn't even know it.
Yeah, it's hidden away.
Exactly. So, but how do you reassure people?
Yeah, look, again, and we put a big emphasis on ensuring that offers that are put out into the marketplaces through those channels, are effectively bookable, right? So, the customer wants to understand that what they see is what they kind of get, and I think that there's a, in today's buying expectations, there's maybe been a bit of lack of trust on when you click on a particular offer that's personalized to you, that it's bookable or not. And certainly, again, from an airline perspective, I can tell you that there's been a massive focus on making sure that content is bookable. No matter where you receive it, where you see it, is bookable. And again, the tolerance level is so low that you have to get it right first time. So yeah, there is a big issue with it. I don't think we should hide behind that. But again, for me, it's being driven by when I'm looking, when I'm searching, whether it's 38 sites or 1, it doesn't matter, that offer is coming to me in a manner that I trust it, and I can only trust it because what I see is what I get. And that really is the fundamentals of it, is making sure that bookability is there.
Okay, Nancy, on that kind of privacy creepiness factor, I mean, you cited lots of examples there. How have they gone about, one, the reassurance thing, but kind of encountered any problems and dealt with them along the way because perhaps things are a little creepy?
It's a tough one. If you use the data, you have to use them right. And if you fail to do that, you immediately create a very negative experience. Now, I had one just a few weeks ago, not that negative, but I walked into a room and it had this postcard saying, "Welcome, Mr. Wozinovsky," or something like that. And I thought, I've got company tonight. But that was not the case. And I felt, I had to laugh about this, but it's getting it wrong. But I must say that, on what we're talking and all these systems and that everything has to be right the first time and stuff like that, I think we should not be forgetting about the human factor, because in the end, when you get there, it's about how these people make the experience. So yes, I do think that data and systems and technology will help you, prevent the negative emotions from arising, but I think it's still the joy in the experience you will get from humans and from humans only. And I think that's something that we should never be forgetting. And what I've seen with big companies in hospitality occurring also is they invest lots of money in new systems and getting people trained on systems, whereas I think they should also invest in the human piece as well. Sorry for taking this turn in your answering your question.
I'm not too worried about creepiness. I think it's a very low risk that hotels will do things, as long as you don't use people's personal Wi-Fi use in the hotel to track what websites they used and use that in some way, I think you're generally going to be safe in a hotel. I think people's imagination of what is used and how it's used is actually way beyond. I mean, I was on the advisory board for BA for a few years, and I remember, and it happened the other day, someone saying to me, oh, well, I know that the airline gives me a different price based on my, and I'm like, trust me, there are so many things they need to sort out online that is just not being done. And people's expectation or belief or story about what airlines are doing was way beyond any levels of reality. So the kind of creepiness I think hotels would do based on the data they've got on people visiting their website, I'm just not worried about.
And you don't sense a recent high-profile data breach at a very large hotel chain may have unnerved people?
Well, I think, again, it might make people come up with their own stories about what's happening, but do I actually think that Marriott are going to go and do something that's going to creep someone out? Because, no, I don't think Marriott... Now, could someone who's stolen data do something? Yeah, but that's a completely separate subject.
I think it's also relevant to say that my daughters, who are 20 and 22, they don't care what you do with their data, as long as you use it for their convenience.
Yeah.
They're not worried.
Yeah, I've seen that too. As long as they see value, getting back value, I think they're not much worried about how creepy is that experience. But I think what you said, Charlie, I think is the more this industry is going to be evolving, the more interaction with other industries, collecting data, this sharing economy about the data that is going to evolve. You guys are going to see in the next few years, these things coming more and more, knocking your door. I think we're going to have more chances for this sort of a creepiness. And then you need to watch a little bit more. Like, not to be like, so, I just finished this hotel room, I just come with a bunch of other offers. Slow down, take a breath, send something later that is meaningful to you. I think at that point, when you start to have more of these siblings data, if you will, you know what I'm talking about? I think we're going to have more chance for that. But just watch how you nudge them.
Yeah, you know what? When I look at and think about this, I put it on one level of creepiness. You know, if I think about my father, he'll probably look at something and he'll think everything's creepy because they do. Right? I'd probably sit somewhere in the middle. There might be some creepy tendencies there based on information that someone may or may not have of me. My 19-year-old son, he doesn't give a monkey's. He'll just go for it anyway if it's right. Know your customer.
Okay. Nancy referenced them a lot. This is Amazon. There is a general thought theory that Amazon is going to come into this industry in a pretty meaningful way at some point, given that they are, according to some, the kind of the masters of personalization. What does that mean for people in this room and the market and the business models that kind of work in the hotel intermediary customer model at the moment?
Yeah. You want me to have a go first?
Please.
By all means. Okay. We all talk about the Amazon effect, right? And and we have been for quite some time now, and they're still probably planning to do it. And it's been a while. They have the data, they have the algorithms and the AI underneath to make sense of all of that. And again, when I think about this, Kevin, you know what? It's down to, again, relevancy. So we always talk about the Amazon effect coming into this space, and we've always talked about Google coming into this space and another. There's always going to be another, but it's how you use that data effectively, right, at the end of the day. And I say this, when we talk about the Amazon effect, it's like, yep, get it, love it, but don't resell me something 24 hours later that I've already bought, right? So for me, it's like, prepare yourself, see it as an opportunity, see it as a competitive environment, through distribution channel, possibly. Yet, at the end of the day, it still boils down to relevancy. And I actually still think that's something Amazon need to get right, is relevancy.
Okay, Antonio, the Amazon effect in travel or Amazon in travel? What do you think?
I think what Amazon is bringing to the industry as a whole, like bring simplicity, make easy to do business with. Right.
Okay, and Charlie, presumably Amazon would be the next company that you would be terrified of if they kind of came.
I think actually almost the opposite. I just don't think hotels should worry about it too much because it's Amazon's greatest strategic strength is the way in which they enter markets. I mean, they haven't successfully in travel, but buying Whole Foods was just genius. Yeah. Within 4 weeks, they were selling their products through Whole Foods and vice versa. It's extraordinary, but it was such an unexpected entry point. And I feel if they were to try and do it in travel, they're going to buy hotel beds or something completely, orthogonal, and then deliver on top what they do. You can't plan for it. Hotels should get on with fixing the basics, making their website work well, working on the acquisition. I'm not too worried about it.
Easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Nancy, we're going to give the final word to you. So the next big disruptor, Charlie's referenced Google. We talked about Amazon. Are there any other brands that people here should be thinking about as being disruptive influences on the sector?
Be on the watch for the Chinese, I would say. I visited with Ctrip last year. I don't know if you know them, but they've acquired Skyscanner, so they're big. They're the biggest in China. I think they're the biggest in the world at this moment. But we haven't really thought of them because they're so far away. But to me, that's something worth noticing. And then on the other hand, I would say that the Chinese company are focusing a lot on what we call OMO, which is online merged with offline. And I think that's where the sector should be going to really merge these online and offline experiences in such a way that customers, really rate it as a high experience about good sex.
Okay.
Agreed.
Gary Mayger, Antonio Figueiredo, Charlie Osmond, and last but not least, Nancy Rademaker. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.